In 1929, a man decided to build a castle. He had no crew, no contractor. He pulled stones out of the river and carried them up in buckets. He did this for 52 years. This is Château Laroche, also known as Loveland Castle, on the banks of the Little Miami River, about 25 miles northeast of Cincinnati. The first 3 episodes in this series were about things people made and then left behind. A boulder in a forest, a sandstone cliff face, 200 brick ovens in a valley, all of them abandoned. This one is different. This one is still running. The organization the builder founded still owns it, still maintains it, still staffs it. They're here right now. Harry Delos Andrews was born in 1890, graduated from Colgate University, reportedly spoke 7 languages, and went to France in the First World War as a medic. While he was there, he contracted spinal meningitis. The army recorded him as dead, and it took 6 months to sort that out. By the time the word had gotten back to Ohio, his fiancée had already married someone else. He didn't come home. He stayed in Europe, working, traveling, visiting castles, French, German, English. He studied how they were built. He trained in Greek and Roman architecture in Colgate, and then studied medieval architecture in France. He also hated what he'd watched happen in the war. Not war itself, he wasn't a pacifist. He specifically objected to modern warfare, killing at a distance, industrialized, anonymous. He thought there was something honest about medieval combat by comparison. Whether that holds up philosophically is a separate question. He'd spent years inside the real version of the other thing, and that was his conclusion. He eventually made his way back to Ohio, worked for a newspaper, became a notary public, started a Sunday school class for boys who liked to camp. The group spent weekends on a stretch of riverbank along the Little Miami, land that had come to Andrews through a newspaper promotion years earlier. They'd leave their gear out between trips, and it kept disappearing. Andrews told the boys, "Bring me some stones from the river and I'll build you 2 stone shelters." Once the shelters started going up, they looked a lot like towers. The boys called themselves the Knights of the Golden Trail. Andrews figured knights needed a castle. Construction started in June 5th, 1929, when he was 39 years old, working from plans he'd drawn up himself. At some point, those plans went missing and he kept building from memory. He did most of the work himself. The walls are river stone and homemade brick. When the Little Miami ran short of usable stone, Andrews started casting and pouring his own concrete into quart milk cartons and letting them cure. He used 32,000 of them. He carried 56,000 buckets of stone up from the riverbank and moved 54,000 5-gallon buckets of dirt. Those aren't just random numbers. He kept a running tally of all of it, and it's still posted on the kitchen wall. The front door is 3 layers of wood and 2,530 nails, built to stop someone from chopping through with an axe. Above the entrance, there are murder holes, gaps in the stonework overhead specifically for dropping things on anyone who makes it that far. Both are functional by design, not just decoration. The second floor has a ballroom. Andrews modeled it after the room in the actual Château Laroche in southern France, the military hospital where he spent 6 months being slowly declared alive. The castle is named after the hospital. There's a spy hole up here too, a gap in the stonework positioned so he can watch the front door and the floor below without being seen from either. There was also a secret room built into the garden wall outside. The entrance was disguised as one of the arches. Nobody knew about it, not the knights, not the visitors, apparently not anyone Andrews ever told. It collapsed from years of neglect after his death, and that's the only reason anyone found it. 52 years building this place, and he never mentioned the room to a soul. Andrews came back from the war that killed around 20 million people and spent the rest of his life building an argument in stone. The argument was that a different set of values had once existed. Chivalric code, the ideals of knighthood, a moral structure that modern warfare had thrown out. He had the 10 Commandments carved into the walls. Whether you agree with him or not, he'd spent years inside of what anonymous industrial killing actually looked like. The castle was what he did with that. His last years weren't easy. He was in his late 80s, early 90s, alone most of the time, and there were people who were giving him real trouble, stealing from the donation box, vandalizing the garden, coming at night, so he kept himself armed, a shotgun at first and then a pistol he carried on him. He wrote that prowlers were likely to be greeted accordingly. At around 90, someone beat him with his own gun. He kept building. In April 1981, Andrews was on the castle ground burning trash. He was 91, pistol in his back pocket the way he always did by then. The wind shifted, his pants caught fire, and in the scramble to get the gun clear, The fire burned up his legs. He died 16 days later of gangrene. The year before, he told the Cincinnati Enquirer he figured he had 6 or 7 years left of work. He didn't finish it. The castle passed immediately to the Knights of the Golden Trail, who have owned it ever since. The organization Andrew started in the 1920s still functions and still maintains the building, still staffing it. More than 300 people have been knighted, around 50 active members today. To join, you need to be sponsored by someone already in. Harry wanted them to keep building, so he taught them how, although the unfinished section of the roof is still there. After he died, his ashes were scattered on the grounds. He's here literally, in the soil of the property he spent 52 years building. The Knights will tell you he never really left in any other sense either. Things go missing, doors close. His old office is kept the way he left it. Typewriter, coffee cup, a newspaper dated 1981 still on the desk. He said once, while he was still alive, that all castles ought to have a ghost. 4 episodes in, and the through line keeps being the same. One person, one thing they needed to build, and a place that exists entirely because they decided it should. A blacksmith's political monument, a bricklayer's grief, 200 ovens, and now a medieval castle, built by hand, stone by stone, bucket by bucket, by a man who had decided that everything the modern world was doing was wrong and wanted something older and more honest to point at. Next one, Fort Ancient. 3.5 miles of earthen walls on a bluff above the Little Miami River. Built starting around 100 BCE, 500,000 cubic yards of earth carried up the hill one basket at a time. It took so long that nobody who carried the first basket lived to see it finished. Subscribe if you want to see it. But before I go, I wanted to thank you. The channel has grown faster in the last month than it did in the previous 4 years. I did not see it coming. I want to keep making these, and Artemis wants to keep making these. She climbs into her carrier on her own now, most days, on the assumption that we're going somewhere new. The channel isn't monetized yet. I've still got a full-time job, and so the schedule is what it is now. But there's more coming, and I'm working on making it more regular. I'm Rex. That's Artemis. I'll see you on the next one.